The ocean. Home to the weird and wonderful. Home to the largest mammal on earth. And for myself, it's home. This is Cornwall. I grew up here most of my life, being born in Truro, living in the small village of Gweek, to soon move into the well-known town of Helston. This small Cornish town was surrounded by beach after beach after beach. Growing up here gave me so many opportunities to discover what lied beneath the waves. Most of my days were either spent bodyboarding at Poldhu, swimming, or snorkeling at the Lizard where my grandparents lived. Speaking of grandparents, my granddad, a retired engineer, who worked for AP Diving as a toolmaker, became a skilled engineer who helped design and build rebreathers for the Navy, professional divers, and the police force, and more. His name, Terry Fisher. My granddad died with hammerheads, dolphins, travelled to the Galapagos, and even had his face on a magazine with a tiger shark. How much more of a cool granddad could I have? Not knowing what I wanted to do when I was young, I had interest in theatre for many years, alongside birding, which was a huge hobby for me to start off with. Learning the use of binoculars gave me this spectacular view of birds above and beyond. I knew nature was the way I wanted to go in life. Over the Easter holidays, I took the train down back to my hometown to stay with my wonderful grandparents in the small village known as the Lizard. Finally, after moving away for so many years, I was able to come back and begin this new dream of mine. With the handy use of an underwater GoPro and my own skills, I aim to produce a documentary of my aspirations and what I saw over the week. The first day, I caught up with my granddad about my ideas. We aimed to go rock pooling that evening. However, we stumbled across a marine team rescuing a young seal. This was such a great opportunity for me to talk to the team, help out this poorly pup, and gain an insight of how I can help marine animals, as well as still capturing their beauty. We helped carry this pup all the way back to the medical car and hoped that he would recover from what they suspected was lungworm. Driving back home that evening, despite aiming to find crabs and critters, to helping that seal brought a huge smile to my face and a determined mindset to find more throughout my visit. The next few days consisted in me taking out my camera and filming the wondrous landscapes I get to call home. Cornwall's cliffs and seas are stunning from above, despite me moaning about wanting to get in already. I thoroughly enjoyed exploring the paths again after so long. Rediscovering birds such as the Cornish chough with its bright red bill, to spotting seals in the waves botting about like boys. So much nostalgia ran through me again. I knew this is where I wanted to be, grow, and live in a few years' time, especially being close to my granddad, who I can't thank enough for helping me through this journey. Throughout the week, the weather was on our side. My first dive, I wore this huge dry suit, with my granddad's flippers and a weight belt, which I felt as if I was preparing to go to space. I'd never been to this cove before, so it was new for me. Prussia Cove was the place we began, due to the wind and the tide always changing. The stunning blue sparkled across the waves, and the water was so clear I swear I could see the fish. Determined to get in, we got set up, flippers on, and time for the GoPro to shine. That first emergence into the water covered me with a slight chill. However, the dry suit, well, it kept me dry. The creatures I was aiming to see were at least a few, or not one, spider crabs, small shoals of sand eels, and maybe a seal if lucky enough. Me and my granddad swam around this beautiful cove for a long while, except we weren't having much luck. I wasn't ready to give up. As the tide pulled me out, I clung onto the rocks below in search for at least something to capture. And as I drifted off to the patch of corals, I noticed something move beneath me. A huge spider crab! Oh my goodness, how it made me jump. But as soon as I calmed down, I was filled with awe. Finally, something popped out to give me a chance at practicing my photography skills. I floated above this magnificent creature for a good 10 minutes whilst my granddad got out. The crab was covered in anemones, corals, and barnacles, which can cause these creatures drag, but he eventually settled in a crevasse for me to watch in excitement. Eventually, I knew it was time to set off back home, and I will forever remember that crab as my first ever capture. The next couple of days consisted of walks and bird photography, whilst we waited to go on one of my favourite snorkel spots, Castle Beach in Falmouth. The wind was on and off during the week as we waited for the conditions to be right. Thursday was our day to explore the kelp forests of Falmouth. Despite it being cloudy, I was too excited to worry about the sun hiding away and hopeful for the clarity of the snorkel I had ahead of me. After all, I had waited for this day to find small spotted cat sharks, nurse hounds, and the most colourful nudibranch, the rainbow sea slug. Once again, I suited up, this time with my granddad's wetsuit and his trusty head cap to keep me warm. I popped on my fins and sped through the waves and dived under. What I had hoped for was clear visibility and a thriving floor full of cat sharks, but I was unfortunately met with murky water and no life to be seen. Diving is always unpredictable, but after waiting for so long to get here, I could only feel disappointment. This will definitely be a learning curve for me. I wasn't confident enough to dive further out after being out of the sea for so long. I swam around the kelp and duck dived to clear visibility down below. Suddenly, I came across these bright white and yellow speckled casings. I thought to myself, this is still amazing. Live cat shark eggs swaying with the waves whilst attached to some kelp. This was truly a sight to behold, as I knew they were around somewhere. How the cat sharks entangled eggs to the kelp, I am yet to research for myself, but to see them up close in the wild is still a wonder worth capturing. I held my breath as many times as I could, capturing these beautiful casings through videography and photography. I snorkeled along the surface in hope of finding the adults hidden below, but I had no luck. During this time, I began to feel quite seasick, which was frustrating for me as I'd been hopeful for this dive for a long time. Without any successful live sharks, I swam back to shore and calmed myself, and knew it was time to try some rock pooling instead. I had seen all over social media that locals had spotted this gorgeous purple and orange nudibranch called the rainbow sea slug. I was determined to find it, hidden beneath the rock pools with the trusty hand of my nan to help. I used the GoPro to record any signs of movement, though we had been at Castle Beach for a few hours and needed to head back. So we tried a few more pools, and suddenly, when my nan lifted this rock, she spotted a crab. He was wriggling to find a new hiding spot, so I dunked the GoPro into the pool and managed to capture this little guy. However, the quality wasn't great to me when I looked back upon it, yet it's still an achievement. Before putting the rock back for our pinchy pal, we spotted a hermit crab hiding away in his shell. Luckily, I brought my trusty box so we could view him up close. But, of course, he decided to stay hidden with the comfort of his humble abode. We placed the hermit crab back into the pool as I set up the GoPro to capture his awaking. And, once again, although successful, the blur and the seaweed got into view, spoiling this moment, but I'm a fan of all sea, corals, critters, and more, so who wouldn't love a bit of seaweed action? However, capturing more sea life was still a thrill despite the quality. Hopefully I can find that sea slug another time soon. The last 2 days I spent with my family, sharing what I captured and hopefully impressing my granddad. It had been a great trip back down to hometown, but I knew I'd had to get back to my current home where I'd complete this project and look forward to living back by the sea again someday. For my last Cornish adventure for now, we went to Kynance Cove, another Cornish treasure I grew up around, with its stunning turquoise waters and sticking rock pillars reaching out of the sea and up to the sky. It was a great way to end the week, especially capturing one of my favourite photos of a rock pipit upon some orange foliage. Once again, I farewell to a home as I travel past Plymouth, Exeter, and Dawlish Warren, places I hope to explore underwater in the upcoming years, working with sea life conservations, dive teams, and helping to protect our precious coastlines.